Same place, same event. Trump and Inácio were there. The desperate attempt to create an image. Trump humiliated Inácio. He had already been warned that the President of the United States wouldn't even greet him or look him in the face. Inácio started to panic. In the official photo, guys, what a shame. The guy, I don't know what goes on in his head. What a pathetic thing. The gatecrasher. The gatecrasher was right next to Trump, and the diapers had to be changed. That's the second reason he brought Yanja. The first is that she wanted to meet up with her friend. I'll show everything here. Hit the like button, come be part of our family, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell. I'll show everything now. Guys, before that, I want to share an opportunity. I'll show you here, Lynn Fever. I always post videos. What have I done in the last few days? 2 kilos in a day. Then people say, no, it's just water and stuff. Look at the images. Look at my face. Look at my face. I only sell the product here because I fully trust it. Look at my face. Look at the image. This was months ago. It hasn't even been a year. It's only been months, not a year. I know what I'm talking about. Look at my pants. My pants. Look how loose they are. And look, it's already here. I don't wear a belt, see? You can fit a hand in here. The product works, obviously, but you have to have discipline. That's how dieting is. You have to plan ahead. But it helps a lot, guys. It was 20 kilos. 20 kilos that I lost, right? After 40, it's harder for us to lose weight. It really is more difficult. Even practicing physical activity every day, and I do. I wasn't able to lose weight, focus, discipline. I managed to lose it. The images speak for themselves. Look at my face. My face is totally different, right? So it's worth it. For those of you who don't want to miss this opportunity, an easier way. Natural. Extremely natural. It's a little powder that you add, right? Especially in those greasy meals. It will help you eliminate fat, to lose inches. The link is right below. A great opportunity to lose weight in a healthy way, with a better quality of life. Totally. Pants that didn't fit before start to fit. Our self-esteem gets much higher. That's a fact, right? The link is right below. For those who don't want to miss this opportunity to lose weight today, okay? The international embarrassment is because this is for diplomats. It's only as a culture and informing Trump and Lula is real. It seems like
Lula is trying to get Trump for a formal meeting. If it happens, it will be a very quick conversation. But what I can say, what I felt this Monday is that Lula even went earlier to see if this meeting would happen.
Maybe try to make it happen, like we said, right? Taina Falcão. Look, we need to talk about the tariffs, okay? I'll call later, or I'll call another day. Let's have a video conference.
How pathetic, right? Metropolis was trying everything to defend the guy whose conviction was overturned, but really doing everything, right? Yeah, first, Datello, his place with Gadella, put, Lula doesn't interact with Trump during the G7 family photo. G7. Lula isn't part of the G7, right? Yeah, Lula and Donald Trump posed for the G7 leaders' family photos and all that. Right? Look here. They're in the article. Lula gives a speech at the G7 in front of Trump and meets with Japan at the European Union. These guys are doing everything they can here to try to show that Lula is relevant. He gave a speech in front of Trump. Man, what are these guys doing? Remember that Igor Gadelha, he's over there in France, right? And usually they go on the same plane, okay? The plane from the Brazilian Air Force, right? The official plane, the reporter's plane, the plane that the temporary representative uses, right? Usually it takes journalists who are chosen to go to the place where Lula is, right? That's why there's so much brown-nosing, as we all know. Then there was that meeting, guys. I'm going to show all the footage here. People were commenting. Trump clenched his hands so he wouldn't have to greet Lula. No, I'm not kidding. Look at this. CC. He walks by, greets someone else. When he gets close to Lula, he turns his face away. He turned his face away. When he saw him there, I think he must have smelled the stench of betrayal, of booze. And then he just walked right past. Look over there. So he doesn't have to greet him. He goes over there and clasps his hands. So he doesn't have to greet him. Now let's look at the whole picture, right? Here. But I find it strange. Where's that chemistry? There used to be a lot of chemistry. It was full of chemistry and all that, right? And so on. And that's it. Now Trump walks past Lula and ignores him. Look at that. Yeah, it's not looking good for you, Inácio. Not good, huh? Right? Here it is again. But look at the picture. Look how silly, what a ridiculous thing. He's waving goodbye. All the leaders there, waiting for the photo. He thinks he's at a street party. Just look at that. Look at that. He needs to be called out, right? It's like, hey, I'm taking an official photo here. You're not even supposed to be here.
Yeah, it's a photo. You're not supposed to be here.
Look at that idiot. What an idiot, guys. What an idiot, guys.
First here.
Idiot! He's still mad because he's holding up the photo. Look, that's it. Drunk. It's tough. What happened? The guy doesn't care, man. He doesn't even have the composure for a photo. He's wearing that tiny hat. Ridiculous, right? It's just to try to stand out and say, he's the special one and all that. Because that must be Janja. He must have seen comments here on social media, right? That he's trying to act like a gangster, right? The Al Capone of Brazil and all that, right? And that's why he doesn't, it's not a shooting. It's not because of those horrible spots on his head, no. It's that all the evil is coming out through his head, right? The worst in a human being, right? And we're saying this, we're not making it personal, because this guy, what he's doing to our country here it's not easy to put up with. That duo is him, right? And you all know very well who. It's not easy. Yeah, it's a lot of cruelty every day. Every day. That case against Eduardo Bolsonaro is absurd. It's absurd. So they took the boy's seat away. They're prosecuting him as if he had done something serious. He did absolutely nothing. That's just so they can keep the boy from running for the Senate here in Sao Paulo. That's obvious, right? Those guys are scared to death, right? Look at that. Right here. So here, guys, after confronting the guys from PCC and Comando Vermelho, Trump completely ignored the guy, right? Looks like PT is going to be on that list too. How long will we tolerate threats to our sovereignty and Joaquim Teixeira's profile? And here you can see what left Inácio in despair. Trump took him to France. Look who's next to him, Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is one of the people that Inácio truly, despises. He's scared to death of Marco Rubio. And if I'm not mistaken, Christopher Landau is here too, right? The three most important ones, right? The Secretary of State and the President of the United States. Basically, three of the four most important people in the world. Trump, Rubio, and if I'm not mistaken, Landau, right? Landau is the fourth, right? The second, the third is the vice, right? Vice President. J.J. Vance, who in the United States chain of command is the second. When we look at it, it's Trump, the President, the Vice President, then the Secretary of State, right? And especially with the stature that Marco has. And just a reminder, right? It was Rubio, right? Who already didn't like it, right? He said, no, Trump, avoid him. Don't talk to that guy, right? Because he's no good. Or what they're doing to the people in their country and all that. But Trump, he's the kind of guy who likes to look his enemy in the eye. Trump has that trait. He likes to look. And When it seems like everything is fine, it's not. It's not. He went there because one thing is certain, right? Yeah, he's the head of state of great stature, right? Clean. And he wouldn't mistreat or abuse, no. That's not in his nature. He's not the same kind as that drunk guy over there, right? And that's why he welcomed him at the White House, to see what the possibilities were, right? Lula, the same promise he made back then. When they met in Malaysia, he went and promised things he would never fulfill. In that first meeting they had last year, it was promised to free the political prisoners, to free President Bolsonaro, right? All of that was brought up. Alexandre de Moraes, he didn't follow any of it. Look, it's been over a month. The deputies voted on the sentencing measure that passed in Congress, passed in the Senate. They could already be free, right? And what does Alexandre de Moraes do? He grabs the case for himself, the one he wrote himself. He sends it to someone else, sends it to another, only to agencies that they know very well, won't vote in favor of these victims. Yeah, it's endless cruelty. There isn't. In the history of Brazil, right? And maybe in the whole world, if you think about it, there's no one in politics, even though he should be in the judiciary, as perverse as those two. It's impressive. It's absurd, right? Here we see. Look at this. Here, too, picture the official photo.
Right?
He has no bearing at all.
It's absurd, but it is.
My impression is that those guys really avoided filming him, huh? These are images from the G7 itself.
Okay.
They only filmed when there was no other way because they avoided filming Lula. Thank you.
This is the. Thank you.
Look at that. Lula wasn't with any advisors. There was no one by his side. The guy who can't even speak Portuguese properly. And I'll be honest with you, not that it's a rule, right? Yeah, not every Brazilian speaks perfect Portuguese, no. But in his case, he's the president, right? He's the current representative, isn't he? Yeah, of our country. But he didn't have an education. You know, he didn't. All these years, it's a matter of preparation, right? Flavio, until recently, also didn't speak English. Both him and Eduardo, right? We saw Nicholas, right? Who else do we always watch? Many of these people didn't speak English either. They prepared, they studied. Lula hates anything that takes even a little extra effort. He's a real lazy guy. He's lazy, that's a fact, right? Besides all the other terrible qualities he has, too. But he could, right? Just so he doesn't have to say good morning, right? Good afternoon, good evening. But the guy doesn't know how bad it sounds when a German woman tries to speak Portuguese. It's awful, the way he talks. Because he, for God's sake, right? It's one embarrassment after another. But he's still there. The guy... Here, look, clapping like a complete idiot, right? A complete idiot. And Trump, look at that. Another thing that also caught on. Look at that in the United States. Okay? ICE, the American Immigration Service, arrested the former leader of the PCC and Comando Vermelho while he was trying to escape to Mexico. Quite the résumé. Loaded gun, cash, and even his own wife held in captivity. These are the people Lula defends. Here he is. Look here. Over there, no ministers cover things up, no temporary releases, and no custody hearings over coffee. If you run from the police, it ends in a chase, crash, and handcuffs. While the Brazilian left defends mass release from prison, the real world shows how organized crime is dealt with. They forgot to tell the criminals that out there, the law works. What doesn't work is here, right? We can see that. What doesn't work is here in our country. But they just let the guy do whatever he wants, right? Even Flavio and Bolsonaro, who are getting dressed.
There's a lot to discuss about the World Cup. The guy can't even have a barbecue with family and friends or even meet people at a bar at night because it's too dangerous. For a guy to buy a Brazil jersey compared to the minimum wage, it's the most expensive jersey in the world, right?
Brazil is struggling so much that even Lula will vote for Flavio. That's the attitude we need. The flag and jersey already belong to us, so there's no need to say someone's trying to take them. Otherwise, people would start to comment.
That's a fact, right? It's commentary. Everyone is talking. It doesn't suit them, right? It doesn't. That green and yellow shirt doesn't suit them, right? It's disgusting in every way, right? And we can see that very clearly. Those are the facts. I was waiting, right? I think I still figured Lula would try something there. But he must have been warned beforehand. Don't get close to Trump. Don't get close to Trump. Things aren't looking good for you. Things aren't looking good for you. Because that's the least he could do, right? He could go there, say hello and all. If he didn't, it's because he had already been warned that Trump could, right? Might react somehow, and things could get worse for him. Right? Some kind of joke. Trump doesn't really hold back, does he? One thing was the reception in the United States, though the event isn't happening there. And since Lula even sent people to defend legal factions like Janones, Jandira, and those other people, right? That must have reached Trump's ears. And also because of the Petrobras issue, with the refineries helping out, right? These criminals that we observed. Tap it with your finger. That arrow helps a lot. Share it, so more people will have access to more of this embarrassment from Inácio. I'll be back soon with more news and information here on Pais e Filhos, Fabiano Guiguet.